What's up, guys? Hey, it is Friday the 21st. I'm rocking a little bit of a different brand today. Usually I've got my own on. Today I'm wearing that of my buddy Matt Andrews. Has a little F on it. Reason I'm doing that is because when I opened up the market today, that was the first letter, the first word that popped into my mind, frickin' F, because I was really surprised what I was seeing. Wasn't a good surprise. It was not a surprise I was really happy with. But before I get into that, let's talk about what we're looking at here. Why the market is doing what it's doing. Because a lot of people keep calling me, why can't you get better rates? Why can't these things look better? Why aren't you getting this kind of loan or this kind of loan? Son of a bitch, guys. I don't control it. I'm not the one out there putting the money in the market. The money comes from, up to this point, was the Fed dumping money into the market. The Fed dumped $8.9 trillion, the biggest buyer of loans, period. Buyer of the mortgage-backed securities, which is what fuels the money that we use to be able to fund your loans, was the Fed. They stopped. They're not doing it anymore. In fact, they're not even using. So what would happen is, when you invest in something and you make a return, you'd reinvest the return, right? So when they're receiving payments on those loans, they could take the money from those the payments and they could reinvest it. They're not even doing that, right? So that's why it's shrinking. Now, because they're not doing it, others aren't doing it. One of the biggest buyers of it was other countries. China, you had, I think Japan was in on that. You had Bank of England. They're all having major trouble right now. Massive problems. Currencies are having difficulty all over the globe. So because that, the money is not flowing in. Since the money's not flowing in, but it's still flowing out because you're still borrowing it, it's like everything else. Inflation has caused a grief with this just as much as any other product out there. So if people are trying to buy it, let's say you're going to the grocery store and there is 5 trucks that say got milk on the side wrapped around that store. Milk's going to get really cheap that day because they're going to have to unload that product as fast as they can because it's got a shelf life. But if you walk in there and there's 2 gallons of milk, you got 500 people in the store, and you got the store manager standing on the customer service counter auctioning that off, is it going to get cheaper? Is it going to get really expensive? That's going to be some damn expensive milk. Right now, we still have a lot of people that want money, a lot of people trying to get mortgages, and fewer people putting money in to lend out. So it's going up. So to get them to put more money in, we got to pay them a premium. I'm getting my balls bust over points left and right. Guys, the points are not going to Aaron Chapman. It's not my damn points. It's going to the people to give you money. They're giving you money for 30 years. You're paying it back with a diminishing interest like the US dollar. You're not even giving back what you borrowed. Give them a few bucks and shut them up. Let them get screwed for the next 30 years in your behalf. Okay, so let's calm down about what's going on with the markets. Let's calm down what's going on with the thing. This all has to do with the inflation and people demanding. So that's where we're at right now. So let me talk a little bit about the 30-year fixed. That's something that I think that we need to discuss a bit. Warren Buffett was quoted to say the 30-year mortgage is the best instrument in the world because if you're wrong and rates go down, you refinance. That's it. But if you're right, it's a one-way renegotiation, basically. It's a one-way bet. If you're right and the rates go up and they continue to go up, you're in really good shape. But if you're wrong, big deal, you refi. So what? Everybody right now is talking about a different loan instrument. Not everybody. A handful, a small percentage. It's in the teens, like 13 or 14% or 15% of the mortgages being written right now are ARMs. Okay, so not a big percentage. I say everybody because I'm getting hounded by it. And the reason I'm getting hounded by it because everybody wants it cheaper. I get that. I understand we don't want to be spending a ton of money right now, but if you're going to refinance, you can spend that money anyway. Everybody's of this belief, I get a 5-year or a 7-year ARM, I can just refinance later. What makes you think the rates are going to get better? People talk about market cycles. Markets move in cycles every 10 years or whatever. We have had a 13-year run of ridiculous rates because it was being padded by the federal government. We had other governments putting money in. They're not doing it right now. I have no idea what the ramifications of this is going to be. I have no idea if we're going to get better rates tomorrow, if we're going to get better rates ever. I don't know. It's hard to say. There's a lot of analysts that say it should be getting better in the next year or 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 or whatever. They don't know either. None of us have ever seen this. So I'm of the mindset that I'm going to follow what Buffett has to say. Do the one-way bet. Buy into the 30-year fixed. If it goes down, great. You're going to do what you already planned on if you went and you got the short-term loan. But if it doesn't, you just hedge your bets and you protect yourself for 30 freaking years. The person who gave you that money is the one who's getting screwed. That's what I was getting all frustrated about earlier, right? So you pay him a few bucks to screw himself. Big deal. right? Anytime you're letting somebody give you something that's worth a lot more and you're going to pay them a little bit up front, pay them a little bit up front. Really, it shouldn't be that big a deal. So a couple of questions that came in that I want to address for folks, because I know this comes in now and again. I thought maybe it'd be good to talk about it here. I'm being asked, are closing costs negotiable? Guys, the costs are what the costs are. We had to settle into where our costs are at this point, because this is what we have to publish to everybody. Everybody has to pay the same fees to anybody, because that's what the government wants us to do, is be sure that we charge everyone the same. We can't charge one differently than we charge another. Now, certain times mistakes get made and things happen, and you might see something different on one from another because of that, but it's very, very rare. And it's not because it was a purpose adjustment, right? So we had to publish our fees. Those fees stay where they are. And all that comes from the market. Like I just explained, it's the flow of capital, right? We don't have any sort of choice in that. There's people that have asked if they put less money down than 20%. Sure, we can go to 15, but I doubt you can get a rate you'll even remotely get close to. Plus, the points are going to be extremely stupid. By the time you're done paying those points, you might as well put the other 5% down. The other thing is you're going to need mortgage insurance. Less than 20% down has mortgage insurance. Now there's two different levels of underwrite. You got somebody else determining whether or not they're going to insure your loan, or you're approved to even do the loan. They want to know, how long is the buying process? Well, for us, the pre-qual process can be very, very quick. If you do the application, get us the documentation that we need, we can have your pre-qual in about 72 hours. Then it's a matter of what property you're buying. Is it ready for appraisal? If all that stuff is in line and just gets done, we've closed things in 12, 15 days. If everything's just lined up, it's typically a 30-day process, for the normal process. But if you're buying a property that's under rehab or under construction, I have no idea the time frame. Right now we have supply chain issues, we have labor issues, hard to say. Others are asking about LLCs. They need to establish your LLC before they are closing on the property. No, we don't need an LLC to close in a conventional loan. If you're doing any other loan other than a conventional loan, especially commercial loan, you better use an LLC. I'll get into a reason why you want to do that in a different episode, but just always have an LLC for a commercial loan, especially on residential real estate, because you don't want that counting against you on your 10 finance properties for Fannie and Freddie. And if you have an LLC and you want to buy using the conventional lending to purchase your property, after you're closed, you can flip it to your LLC. Nobody cares anymore. In fact, they're good with that. But it has to be an LLC you have control over. It cannot be one that you have your brother and your cousin and your frat buddy on and your wife on it. Now you have less than 20% ownership. You're 100% liable on the loan, but you have 20% ownership on the property. That don't work. You got to have the ownership in the property. So I'd encourage you to do the single member thing. Don't try and fragment your ownership. There's a lot of reasons for that. And if you want to talk about that, set up a call with me and we'll go into great detail. But you can transfer to LLC. That's not a problem, but it better be one that you own. So let's get into the charts. Let's see why I busted out that F this morning. Okay, so we got the downward channel that I've been pointing out for the last little bit. Actually, it's been going on since early September. And this morning we opened up inside the channel. So we've been above this channel quite a bit. We got above it back in the first part of October, so the 3rd, and we've continued to stay above it. But now all of a sudden, bam, here we are right in it. That was an alarming thing to me. That's why I busted the F out, because if it stayed in there, it could go back down underneath it. Underneath it, we'd be in an even worse position. Now, if you're looking back over the history of this has just been an enormous beating over the long haul. Now, I've yet to see on any charts any beating this bad that we have taken in the mortgage-backed securities. So right now, because there aren't the buyers, there aren't the people investing in it, we're going to see this continue to get out of hand like this. They're just playing the technicals, as we can see with the way that the channels are working and with our resistance and our supports and all that. So that all being said, I don't know where it's going to end up. I don't know how it's going to play out. All I know is you're going to control what you control. As long as you can control it, get that 30-year fixed. Follow what Buffett said. Don't get suckered into this other crap that other people are trying to sell, because all they're trying to do is make you their refi guy later on. You're going to be somebody's bitch. That's it. That's all I can tell you. So I'll catch up with you guys again in the near future. We'll be talking on Tuesday.